Over the past 3 days, the developers have released several important updates to Counter-Strike. All of them were small, but together they stack up into quite a big set of changes. And today I'll tell you what exactly has been fixed, how ramps in the game were literally broken, how walking on a flat surface got bugged so badly that you couldn't move, and how the developers finally fixed bunny hopping, and of course much more. Leave a like right now and let's get started. So, let's begin with the list of changes from the very first update released over these past 3 days. On Ancient, clipping issues were fixed. About a month ago we already saw similar problems on this map when they were working on clipping, but they forgot to fix the issues with grenades getting stuck in certain textures. That was happening in 2 spots, on bomb site B and in the cave area. In addition, there were 2 other fixes related to an issue I haven't told you about before, but I will explain now. Apparently, because developers constantly experiment with Subtic, we ended up with broken Bunnyhop, which had been in a terrible state until today. You remember all those problems with configs that required lowering your FPS. But the main issue here was that when you moved your mouse, for example while scoped with the 8WP, and at the same time tried to move your character, you simply couldn't get off the spot, and this happened even on completely flat ground with nothing in your way. Players didn't really notice this much during a regular gameplay, but if you started shaking your crosshair, it would happen consistently until you stopped moving the mouse, at which point you could walk again. This could also be seen with a knife in your hands, and thankfully this problem was fixed in the first update. Another bug players faced was with ramps. Basically, ramps are flat surfaces that let you climb up to certain areas. Under certain conditions, you could simply get stuck on them, which could easily ruin a match, not to mention how bad it would be in pro play. And if you crouched and shot while climbing a ramp, your movement speed would drop to just 3 velocity units. According to one test conducted by a YouTube user, your speed decreased by about 40% while going up a ramp, and that exact issue has now been fixed. The next update was mostly aimed at map creators. You can see how many changes were made here, but unfortunately for regular players, this is something that doesn't really affect them, so I won't go into detail. From what I can tell, these changes are connected to the added support for JavaScript for map makers in one of the earlier patches. Now, today's update focused on Mirage. First and foremost, Thor showed this on his Twitter, where he found that the edge of the map had clipping that prevented you from shooting through literal empty space, but this has now been fixed. Another change was made to the revolver. I don't know if you care about this weapon or not, but its animation and geometry were corrected. One more fix was for Vulkan users who prefer it instead of DirectX. And finally, the most important change today, the bunny hop fix. It all comes down to a command called Subtic Movement View Angles. Previously, this command would send Subtic view angle data to the server every frame, but now it's bundled with the rest of the data. If I understand it correctly, this directly relates to the FPS problem. With higher FPS, bunny hop became worse, while with lower FPS it became easier. If I'm not mistaken, this command has always been enabled on servers by default, and you could only disable it using SV cheats on your own server, and when you disabled it, bunnyhop worked normally. Subtic essentially ruined bunnyhop because at high FPS the number of data packets that needed to be sent skyrocketed. Every frame, every movement was data that Subtic had to process. So developers limited the number of inputs at a certain moment. That's why when you were air strafing during a bunnyhop, there was simply too much data. Lowering your FPS reduced the amount of input data, which actually made bunnyhop smoother. One of Valve's developers even asked about this bug on Reddit 2 months ago, and as you can see, it took them quite a while to fully figure it out, and in the process of investigating it, they managed to break the game multiple times along the way. Honestly, it's very strange that they don't use test branches. About a month ago, they actually did release one test branch, but for some reason they didn't continue that approach. It would make so much more sense to release test branches for Counter-Strike so they don't break the main game every time and instead test everything safely before pushing it live, but no, they keep rushing updates every single day to fix whatever broke after a big patch. So to sum it all up, yes, bunnyhop after today's update finally feels good, almost like it did back in CSGO. I may not be a bunnyhop expert, but I can definitely feel the difference, and it's finally been fixed. That's all for today. Thanks for watching the video until the end. This was Reveal. Don't forget to like the video and see you next time.